hello everybody, and welcome to this week's Inworld review, where it is already, believe it or not, the 3rd of December 2017. It has been a busy time and continues to be busy, and for a show that is renowned for going on forever, this is probably going to be the shortest Inworld review you've ever seen. We don't actually have any guests today, mostly because, well, quite frankly, we've been rather overworked on the conferences and things and haven't really had time to book anybody in. But secondly, because it is actually the last full edition, half edition of the Inworld Review that you're probably going to get until probably around the new year. Next week, weekend, of course, when we'd normally be doing this show, will be the second day of the OpenSim Community Convention, which we will be broadcasting live. It will be on the Avacon Inc. YouTube channel, and but we'll be along with a whole crew of people. James and I will be involved in the broadcasting of that. And the following weekend, we have another conference called the Hypergrid International Expo. This is something we looked at in detail on last week's show, and that will be it's in multi-languages, but that will be taking up our time the Sunday after. And if you're any good at maths, let alone religious holidays, you will realize that the weekend after that is a holiday weekend for a great many people, and it's probably a commercial holiday, even if you don't believe in the religion. And the weekend after that is the New Year weekend. So we can expect holiday chaos and conference chaos literally for about 4 weeks. So I prefer to actually come on here today and tell you that we're making no commitments about this show over that period. There might be something if something important arises, and as I announced on MetaWorld News a few minutes ago, there will be probably some offline bulletins that are uploaded to YouTube in the interim period, covering any important links or any important news that breaks between now and the new year, when we'll be back on a regular schedule. So before we go any further, I'm going to pan out to where our slides are and where James probably has a camera. I'm just going to reiterate what I actually just told you. In fact, the first slide coming up is the PR slide, as it were, for the Open Simulator Community Conference. As you can see, that is December 9th and 10th, which is, of course, next Saturday and next Sunday. If you're watching this program on YouTube, if you skip back to our show of 2 weeks ago, we were joined by Joyce Betancourt, and although we had a bit of a fashion show going on at the same time, we devoted a lot of that show to previewing that conference. So if you want to go back to it, if you didn't see it or want to watch it again, you can look 2 weeks ago and find out a bit more about that conference. We will be broadcasting it live on the Avacon Inc. YouTube channel throughout the proceedings. It starts at about 7 a.m. in Pacific California time, and goes on to about 6:37 in California time too, both on Saturday and Sunday, and includes a wide variety of things. Obviously keynotes from OpenSim developers, but through to best examples of what people are using OpenSim for, and extensive looks at the hypergrid and the various things that enables. So moving on to the next slide. This is, of course, for the weekend after. I finally managed to put some dates on this slide, you'll be pleased to know, and the actual address. So it's the 16th of December, which is the Saturday and Sunday 2 weeks from now, after the OSCC. And the grid location, if you're hypergridding in, and it is a hypergrid only event, is Craft World, you can see it on screen.org, Port 8002, and then region is HIE in capitals, although you probably don't need them, followed by Expo. And that will actually take you to the landing regions, and you will find 3 gates to the audience regions if you're a visitor. And if by any chance anybody is presenting there who's listening to this, you will actually have a special gate of your own which goes to region 1, which is a lockdown stage area, which you will need your presenters pass for if you haven't got it already. So presenters, be aware, be aware. Right, we also have these slides I did with Thursday on last week's show when we were, again, as I said, last week's show was you can get in replay and it would tell you all about the event. I have 4 slides here, basically rounding up the 4 half days. The first half day here is the one that's in German. There is very much what I guess is a keynote piece by Dieter Hein opening it. Before that, there is actually a one with me and Thursday and all our language organisers just introducing the conference. That's followed by Tosha Tyran talking about the history, really, of Craft World. Which, although this is in the German section and she is German, Craft World, of course, is based in Italy, but is also renowned for, is promoting itself as an international creative grid. That'd be followed by Art Blue, talking about digital arts in Open Simulator, then and now kind of thing. Moving on to the next slide, this is the Saturday afternoon. The wonderful Karima Hoysan will be starting off how OpenSim, especially Kitely, has made it possible to bring her poetry to life using virtual reality. Eugenia Calderon will be talking about using virtual worlds to teach languages. And we may have... well, no, I'll leave it today. We may have a little bit extra on languages too, which isn't yet on the agenda. Also, Cherry Manga will be talking about Festavi wearables, and she'll be showing us some great special effects because I've seen them in dress rehearsal, so to speak. And it doesn't matter where you're sitting in that audience, you will be swamped by strange things happening to you. And at the end of that day is the German blues guitarist Roland Wobbit, who's really wonderful. He'll be playing in the welcome area, so at the end of the day, you'll just go back to the welcome zone, and there'll be a stage set up for him there. It's a bit odd, actually, that that afternoon is sort of crosses the languages a little bit, as you can probably gather, though technically that's the Spanish language session. Moving forward to Sunday morning, this is the French language part. Kiops for Life and Team of Her will be talking about avatars for everyone and remote activities based in 3D environments. Lorenzo Savago will be talking about the future evolution of books, literature and reading and the use of virtual reality in storytelling. And Socrates will close the French session with the use and benefits of developing 3D environments in a school setting. And last but not least, of course, Sunday afternoon, the Italian language strand. Roxalo Bambenko will be talking about the Museum of the Metaverse, is the correct translation, the iconic art gallery with roots in both Second Life and Craft. Salazar and his friends, including Eva. You see how we got out of pronouncing those. Edu3D, more about education, baby, and experience and knowledge sharing. Find out about Edu3D as a learning community, its blended classes, informal methodology and flipped classroom concept. Tylo will be bringing, talking about an open simulator extension module called EPAC, which is designed to actually reduce the use of scripts for common operations, to reduce lag and the weight on scripts on servers, bit of a technical one there. And the wonderful Wizardol's Chrome will be ending with a piece on art in Open Simulator, virtual photography, a photographic journey. I imagine that'd be heavy on slideshows while she's talking. And yeah, that's it. A final plug while we're on the screen. Uh, Another conference, though this is way later, this is March 15th and 17th next year, 2018, of course, V Revolutions or VR Evolutions. Apparently, it is whichever of those two you want. And that, of course, is actually formally the Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference for next year, too. Which we will also no doubt be filming, but that's a fair long way off yet. So, quick reminder, next weekend, Open Simulator Community Conference, the weekend after Hypergrid International Expo. So, having put all those up on screen, it's back down to me here to talk. We're going to be having fun at these. Obviously, as I said, our broadcast schedule will be a bit interrupted because we are one way or another bringing these to you. Both James and I will be involved in the broadcasting side of it. But, we are also both people that are prone to, not just being on camera, but sitting in the audience listening to things too. Some very good stuff happening. And I indeed myself hosting a sort of viewer interfacing panel and co-hosting with Thursday a hypergrid exploratory panel, both of which are actually on the Saturday. And we'll be having a hypergrid safari, which our old friend Pet Love Pet Shop, I believe, will be coming in to film live during it's sort of like a break from OSCC when all the attendees are invited to go on a traveling safari before they come back for the rest of the conference. And on that same day, Sunday, Thursday, Ember herself in the morning will be delivering a talk all of her own, which bears on the hypergrid and quite a few other interesting theories. So grand old time for us, but for all, I think. I've been doing sound tests and chatting with a lot of the presenters who are going to be at OSCC, mostly yesterday, and some good old friends there, some new faces, and it's quite clear that a lot of interesting people have a lot of interesting things to talk about. And it ranges from core developers having their annual shindig of a panel through to very explicit different things that OpenSim is being used for, and the very nature of the hypergrid itself. So it's there's a lot of variety to be gathered there, ranging art, education, technology, you name it, is thrown in there somewhere. So any thoughts about all this, James? You, of course, are going to be very involved. You have been quite involved in the run-up to it. Anything particularly looking forward to, or whatever, as they say?
Well, I'm going to attend the entire conference, and I'm I just like just about everything that I see happening in OpenSim. It's really fantastic. But of course, I'm looking at how we can best support the Open Simulator developers and the Open Simulator community. And what better than this gathering of people to really emphasize that it's the community of people that are helping make this and helping to support it. So just despite the particular topics, I think just the event itself is a very hopeful thing.
Yeah, it is very focused on the community of users, I guess, is really what it's about. There is, in fact, for example, a commerce panel, but commerce isn't really a prime thing with Open Simulator or the Hypergrid, really, other than, of course, the grid operators who clearly have to make their money back if not make money. But there will be a commerce panel looking at currencies and virtual marketplaces and things. But it's surprising how that side of it is fairly low impact in OpenSim. So it tends to be a community and educational based things, really. You see examples of people doing stuff they're using the platform that aren't in the region of competence or enterprise. There'll be an educational, maybe research and things like that aren't particularly in the front line. And as you say, community, be it clubs and venues and locations to explore that encourage people to go around in groups and together. And it is also OSCC is often very well populated because it's like an annual event where I won't say everybody comes together, but a lot of people put it in their diaries, and you realize that just how many people are in OpenSim. It's very easy to compare, a giantly populated, massive landmass like Second Life and say, oh, OpenSim's an empty backwater. But you have to remember that with the hypergrid, everything is like websites distributed all over the planet on different servers. And it's really up to you to go and find things. And I believe a report from Hypergrid Business now estimates that the land mass, not the population, but the land mass of OpenSim is now greater than Second Life. And there are no really clear figures as to the population. You can add up the population of residents on individual grids and things like that. And presumably everybody has a home grid somewhere in order to hypergrid. But because, this is global, there's no easy way of looking at a map of the world and finding out what's going on and following the red dots. It's a much more case of having to communicate, make friends, and maybe it's a bit more difficult to find things sometimes other than recommended locations, in what is basically a worldwide scattered network. There's no, you can be on one grid and you can look in a diary, but you only see the diary for that grid. So, there's a lot more going on than people realize. And I think the community conference is somewhere where you get a feel of that entire variety coming together in one place. You would agree.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing I like about, part of what I like about the virtual world is actually the experience of projecting myself into the avatar. And what I love seeing at the conference are when people actually are using their avatars to do things other than talking and presenting. And so, last year, the demonstration of the turtle, the logo demonstration was fantastic. Yeah. The demonstration of simulating projectiles was very interactive, and there's more of that this year. I'm looking forward to the same thing.
Yes, indeed. It's it's like a real world conference. There is a limit to how many people standing up on a podium with a PowerPoint presentation that you can take in one day. Livening it up with visuals and actual, seeing avatars. Even avatars decently animated, but especially when they're able to do things and show off scripts working and doing all sorts of things that you wouldn't quite think could be done. To the casual onlooker would think, well, how could you do that? And well, there are ways, especially NPCs now, non-player characters. They show up on the map as if they're another avatar, but they're not placing any real weight on the server because there's no human asset logging in behind them. Mm-hmm. They're just running on scripts, and so you can get whole scenes. You can build whole scenes now with scripts that, have a non-playing, avatar character performing a whole operation. They can start in one place, pick up a bucket and spade, walk to another place, stop at the other place, start digging a hole, fill it up with sand, carry the sand somewhere else, dump it in a truck, and it's a job to do. But if you're really into that kind of thing, you can script these incredibly complex things. And in fact, there are very few other platforms of the social world's ilk that actually support NPCs. One of the big old platforms like Second Life, has never supported NPCs. It is all, human-driven avatars, which is great because it's a social thing. We want to meet each other, but there are things you can do with NPCs that enhance that social context rather than conflict with it. There is so much that could be done. Mm-hmm. When moving forward to next week, of course, the HIE, which Cesar and I concocted as a bit of an experiment. I won't be presenting anything there other than saying hello at the beginning because we deliberately recognized that despite seeing such a variety of things internationally at OSCC, what was often missing at OSCC wasn't actually the international contributors, but it was the absence of people who could not contribute in the English language. So we thought, well, if we build something where people can come along and do that kind of thing they might do at OSCC, but in their own language, and this year we chose, 4 European languages for 4 half days. So it's not quite the international expo yet. No Japanese or Swahili or any of the other obscure languages of the world, but we do our best. It's really almost a European international this year. But we've had people coming forward, who are going to be doing things that they could not have coped with doing as an English language venue. And so much the same thing. In fact, if anything, there's even more of a focus on community, with the HIE, with art-based and collaborative projects, which have obviously involved a lot of people. So, I said this was going to be a short show, folks. as his mind goes blank. Just before we wrap, I guess, obviously Wednesday at noon Pacific time, Hypergrid Safari will still be meeting on the HG Safari region, the clubhouse on Franco Grid, and trotting off to somewhere. I either don't know or have forgotten where, but always interesting. That being midweek, of course, continues. There are also various other sort of hypergrid adventure groups and things that happen on other days. None of them have been as long running as Safari or probably as big, but they are in ours, so they're better suited to other people. And probably the best place to check out on those is Google Plus. If you look at communities in Google Plus and just type in OpenSim, for example, or Hypergrid, you will find an awful lot of different groups you can follow to find out what's going on. And I said in the Hypergrid often, has an absence of an event guide, because any event guide that appears is probably only the grid you're on. But Google Plus really is almost your event guide if you navigate it carefully to, moment by moment what's happening on OpenSim. I know that my Google Plus place at this very time, in the space between now and when I started, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items come in, which are probably telling me of events somewhere in OpenSim. So, very reliable way of doing that. But I think that's it. I can't think of much else at the moment. And my mind is full of sound tests and video tests and conference agendas.
Oh, yeah.
And troubleshooting and not exactly hum broadcasting and hosting a program. James, anything else? Anything else for me to get in, really?
Boy, nothing about the conferences coming up, other than I'll be attending and working with streaming. I did recently acquire a Windows mixed reality headset. I'd finished a large project at work and decided it was time to try something a little bit new. So I'm having some real interesting experiences with that. And of course, when I listen to the Meta World News, I'm hearing all kinds of different things about the different headsets and how they may impact our virtual worlds. So it's fun to be participating now in some of that. And
yeah. I must say there was a post on this week's show that I found. I forget what it's called, but it's a fashion company who have launched prototypes. They're not in manufacture yet of. They're like steampunky looking glasses, goggles, but they're the closest to what I'm hoping for, which is like a pair of glasses that you just pull out your pocket and put on,
right.
And these look like, and they're like swimming goggles actually, but they're slightly more stylized, and of course they've got a very shapely female avatar, a Givenchy I think it is, modeling them, and the whole advert for them looks like more like a perfume ad than a technology ad. So they the market there is, this is your virtual reality with a sense of style, and the fact that they're VR and AR combined would intrigue me as well. So tell me, how are the Microsoft things going? Are they, for example, enhancing your view of Second Life or OpenSim and like here where we are now, or are they
No,
limited?
no, I haven't found that connection yet. So it's just in the tools that they provide and the environments that they provide with Windows Mixed Reality, and then Steam VR functions in this headset. But it's really picking up, and it's quite a compelling experience. It's
Uh, but it doesn't effectively convert every 2D screen into a surround screen if you need it.
No, no, it doesn't. But
Yeah.
what it does do that because it's built into the operating system, the you start in a house, which is a common metaphor for a virtual world, and you have your cliff house that you can decorate and modify, but you can also put up any window that you can run on the Windows desktop up onto the wall of your house. And so
Oh,
basically the walls of the house become your Windows operating system, and it's a very very clever idea. I think I'm looking forward to watching it as it evolves.
I'm very keen on that actually.
Yeah.
Does the one question, of course, I have to ask is, if you unplug the headset, does the desktop metaphor remain in 2D?
Well, the desktop remains in 2D while the headset is functioning.
Yeah, but it then takes the desktop into your headset, doesn't it? So you see it in front of your eyes.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically like a copy.
Right.
And
So if I disconnect the mixed reality headset completely, does my house with my applications on the wall still persist, or am I
I see
back?
what you're saying.
Am I back to the regular desktop?
You're back to the regular desktop. The house only exists inside the headset, and you're
I
viewing your desktop inside the house, but the converse doesn't work. Although, when you are active in the headset, an image of what you're seeing in the headset is displayed on the desktop, so people can watch what you're doing on the 2D
I
world.
see. So if I'm in the headset but not wearing it, it is still showing on my desktop.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
when you set it down, I take it off my head and put it on my desk, everything goes upside down because I flip it over.
Well, of course, of
Right, right.
course. Yeah, it's like doing acrobatics with your mobile phone attached to a bit of cardboard, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't always gel.
Right, right.
Yeah, that it's a big problem with virtual worlds, but increasingly, I think a problem with virtual reality displays is they're really going to have to learn about this thing called gravity,
Mm.
because without gravity, things go very awry.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it's no good having a photorealistic 3D environment that doesn't recognize gravity, because
Right, right.
you know, accidents might happen or do happen.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah,
And it would be
yeah,
fun to have this device function with Open Simulator, but I've pretty much taken it to heart the developer comments that the structure for both this and Second Life, its progenitor, are just don't have the frame rate to make a satisfying immersive experience like that.
yes, I have that. I've heard that too. I mean, I suspect. I mean, I actually have the hardware to be. I'm running at nearly 55 frames a second there at the moment, which I think would be get closing into good enough.
Hmm.
And obviously, if I resize the window before, it's running full screen. If I resize the window, then I could on the monitor, I could actually get an increased frame rate from that. So um, that might be overcome. But it's no use overcoming that if there isn't a way to connect into the world. If you
Yeah,
see
and
what
that
so,
would be really a developer on the viewer side, not the server side.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, possibly a plug-in to a Firestorm or something that would
Right, right.
make it compatible with the hardware.
But
Like like
it could happen. I don't say it won't happen.
yeah.
I'm not waiting for it either.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you can plug in things like space navigators and all those fancy things, then plugging in an output interface shouldn't be that much harder than input.
Yeah,
But
and
I probably,
hopefully, yeah, because this particular device is part of, set up in the Windows operating system natively, it may be
yeah,
an easier call for a developer to access the connection. I'm not sure. I'm not a
yeah,
developer.
yeah. I do notice that my last Windows update includes some apps that are something to do with mixed reality and stuff, but I haven't
Yeah.
figured out what they're. I haven't had
Yep.
time to figure out what they do yet, but presumably they're apps that will only work with something like that.
That's
So,
it. Right.
yeah,
Right. That's an app that
yeah,
requires the headset.
yeah. Okay, well, who knows what the future holds? But maybe we'll find out a little bit more during the next coming weeks of conference talks.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, or at least get the inspiration for the future. Okay, well, that's it for this week. As I did warn you, it'll be the shortest Inworld review you've ever seen, for which you can be merciful. You can actually spend the extra time going out and shopping for Christmas. There you are. I'm advertising
Mm.
the Consumer Fest. Even I have succumbed.
Mm.
I've been forced to do a short show so that you can go and consume.
Oh my.
Yes. Oh my. Well, not really, but there you go. Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. If you can make it, Open Simulator Community Conference. If you can't actually be there, like this show, you can always watch it at Avacon Inc. on YouTube. And the week after that, we'll look forward to seeing you at HIE if you can make it. And if you can't make it, you can, of course, watch it on here, our very own channel at YouTube. We will be broadcasting HIE on this channel. It will, of course, be in 4 different languages than you're used to, but it will be interspersed with bits of English and possibly some studio roundups of what has been talked about in the foreign language bits. We're working on the best variety of translation facilities we can bring you, but obviously being the first conference and a bit of a beta test, it won't be exhaustive, but we'll do our best. So until next time, I'm going to wish you all a happy conference season and indeed a happy holiday, and I'm even going to risk wishing you a happy new year, but I've got a feeling we might make one show before the actual new year. So it's bye from me until then, and I guess it's bye from James.
Oh,
James?
yes, absolutely. It's
Up-
great to be here, Mel. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Yep.
So happy conferences, happy holidays, and we will certainly see you before too soon. Bye for now.